You know those students that always seem to do well in every test no matter what and don't seem to be actually putting in any real effort? Have you ever wondered what they're practicing or how you can get to that level? Well, I found out recently that there is a special model that they teach to private school and grammar school students. However, you can actually find it online, and it's called the VESPA model. And this is essentially a model for achieving academic success. Now, some people do this naturally or through kind of their learning experience so far. They've kind of developed it over time. However, I want you to spend some time today to go through exactly what the VESPA model is and exactly how you can use it to transform your educational life. Now, this does work for GCSEs, A-levels, and pretty much anything else, university too. So let's just get straight into it. So I'm just going to put on the screen how here is the VESPA model in its entirety. So what does the V stand for? Well, the V stands for vision. Now, vision is really, really important. You need to understand why you're doing certain things. Now, of course, you may just say, well, to get smarter. No, be specific. Why are you doing certain things? So it's not just a GCSE maths or A-level maths, it's also what you're specifically doing in a day-to-day basis. So when you're in a lesson, you need to think about what is this going to link to? Now, it could be, well, this is actually a question on the exam and yada, yada, yada. And how can you help do this? Ask your teachers. Now, this isn't a question of, sir, why are we not learning? Why are we learning this? What's the point? When am I going to use it in real life? Instead, it's, where does this come up in the exams? How is this going to help me answer questions on the exam? Okay, and that, what it allows you to do is to kind of give you that intrinsic motivation to actually study. It forces you to pay more attention. Now, it's very hard to pay attention to the most fullest of your extent without having a clear link between what you're doing and why you're doing it. Now, this also means that you should definitely keep reminding yourself of what is your ideal life. What do you want to do in the future? Do you want to become a doctor or an engineer? Do you want to run a business? What do you want to do? Keep that on a poster that you see regularly, either on your computer or even like printed out on your wall, so that way you can continuously say, why are you doing this? Why are you in school? Why are you doing sixth form? Why are you doing university? So that we can keep that link between what you're doing and why you're doing it firm in your mind. Let's quickly discuss all the different ways that I'm going to help you in your GCSE or A-level maths careers. First of all, I wanted to talk to you about the YouTube members. This is a really cost-effective way of getting tutoring. So I'm going to do weekly live streams for GCSE and A-level maths, and that all comes for £18 a month, and you get at minimum an hour of tutoring per week in these live streams. At the moment, they're quite small, so you basically get tuition for about £4.50 an hour, which is really, really cheap. The second thing is the Patreon. For those of you doing A-level maths, I have already completed AS Stats on my Patreon. It is a full course with worksheets, mark schemes, videos. I answer all the questions. We're going to do exam papers and everything that needs doing. We're halfway through mechanics as of yet. And lastly, there's tuition. I still have places in my group classes for A-level maths and GCSE maths. For GCSE, it's £30 an hour, and for A-level, it's £40 per hour. So if you want to let me know if you're interested, just email me or join the Discord, where I'm very, very active all the time. Anyways, back to the video. The E stands for effort. Now, this might seem obvious, but I promise you there is something insightful here. Now, lack of effort guarantees failure. However, effort does not guarantee success, and that is one of the most key things in this model. People get disheartened and demotivated whenever they don't do well, even if they put in a hell of a lot of effort into a certain test or into a certain skill. Now, the thing is, if you put in a lot of effort and you don't do well, or you suffer a knockback, it's not because you're too dumb or too whatever to be able to do it. Instead, it just means that what you were doing was not the most effective thing. Now, this is really important for me, and this is actually in a study planner that I'm going to release for A-level maths, but it's also in the GCSE study planner, where I let you do things as red, yellow, and green, the traffic light method. Why is that good? Because I find that when people start studying for literally anything, they start with what they already know. Now, you can spend 100 hours going over stuff you already know. That's a lot of effort, it's a lot of work, but it's not efficient or effective. You're not learning anything new. There's no development there. Instead, you need to target areas that you actually do suck at. Now, this generally is stuff that you don't really want to do, but that's the thing. It's always hard work. It's always unpleasant learning new things. So again, you need to kind of link in your head the fact that effort does not guarantee success, but lack of effort guarantees failure. Now, yes, maybe you get lucky and you don't fail without any effort, but you will not ever succeed unless you put effort in the right way. S stands for systems. Now, in a really interesting study done in Iran, they actually found that academic performance was not actually linked to academic ability, but rather organizational skills. So what do I mean by that? They mean that the students that were performing worse in school or in academic exams were actually just less organized than their counterparts that did very well. It had nothing to do with their raw intelligence. It had everything to do with their actual ability to organize themselves and get things done, i.e. your systems that you use for learning. And again, as a teacher myself, this is what I see all the time. Students that aren't doing that well are not just dumb people. Instead, they're just not organized. They don't have systems in place. They don't have set time or times to revise or look over topics. So this really is meant to kind of solidify in your head that it's not really about intelligence. You can succeed without being especially gifted. All you need to do is put in the work, put in good quality work, and have systems in place to organize yourself so that way you can actually cover everything that you need to cover. Let's say if you're less smart, it takes you twice as long to study something, let's say algebra, than another person. Well, if you actually have it planned in that you're going to do twice as much, but the other person, the smarter person, doesn't have that time planned in, who's going to do better in the exam? You are, because you've actually put in the effort and you've actually planned yourself. Now again, I will put the link to the paper in the description just so you can check it out yourself. It is extremely interesting, and I think it's really important to look at, academic ability not necessarily being intelligence based, but actually rather organizing your time to cover all of the subjects and all of the content that you need to do. The P stands for practice. Ever heard the phrase practice makes perfect? Well, actually, it's deliberate practice makes perfect. So once again, effort does not guarantee success. So as I've said before, I've got this GCSE study planner already out. I'll link it in the description. And I've actually recently created an A-level study planner. The video for that will be coming out in the next week. And essentially, it forces you to do spaced repetition of topics that you're not sure about. It calculates it all for you. All you have to do is tick boxes and enter in what date you completed a certain task, and it will space out repetition so that way you can do that deliberate practice to really solidify the content in your mind. And this again is really, really important. Do not focus on what you already know. It's very tempting to start from the beginning of the textbook, so to speak. But if you already know the first third of the textbook, why start from there? Start from the middle, start from the end. Start with what you don't know first. That way, every kind of hour of work you're doing is improving your ability by far more than if you're already going over stuff you already know. It would be like me trying to study for A-level maths and starting with, something really basic like my times tables. Like, okay, I'm starting from the beginning, but I already know my times tables. I don't need to worry about that. So again, deliberate practice makes perfect. And the A stands for attitude, your general attitude towards the experience, towards your learning, towards whatever goal you're trying to get to. Now, I break this up into about 4 different points. The first one is confidence. Unconfident people, what essentially happens is the second they suffer a knockback, they believe that they can't do it, they believe that they're too dumb, they believe that they're not, a maths person or a music person or an art person, whatever it may be, and so they give up. Or they keep pushing themselves to do it, but because they're so unconfident, they're not really putting in the actual energy they need. So they may spend an hour a day studying or learning, but they're not really paying that much attention to it. And as a result, they don't make any progress. So with confidence, you need to, even if you fail, you need to track your progress and your achievements. So again, you may do a test and maybe you just get really nervous and anxious and you fail it. But you should still look at all of the kind of work that you've done and be proud of yourself for sticking to a schedule. So how can you do this? Well, again, that's why in all of my study planners, I have a traffic light system. This way you can see it go from red to yellow to green. That's progress. So no matter what happens in the test, you still can track and prove that you've made progress in the field. And that way you can keep up your self-confidence. The second thing is emotional control. So mainly it's stress control. Again, this does depend on person to person, but there are many, many techniques in order to actually manage your stress. And I'll go through a few of them right after I explain what I mean. Now, whatever you're doing, whether it's, again, GCSEs, A-levels, university, trying to progress in your career, trying to learn a language, trying to learn an instrument, whatever it may be, you're going to have stress in your life. Whether it be family members getting sick, whether it be deadlines coming up, whether it be exams approaching, whatever it may be, you're going to have stress. How you control that stress has a massive, massive impact on your attitude and therefore your success in general. So again, whatever you happen to be learning or doing. Now, how can you control your stress? Well, one way that I've heard works quite well is journaling. So literally when you wake up in the morning or maybe before you go to sleep at night, just start brain dumping. Write as much stuff as humanly possible so you can spot what's causing you any kind of stress or anxiety. Another thing is meditation. Another thing is taking just some time to sit down and just think through all of your problems. One of my personal favorites, however, is actually writing down everything that's on my mind and then crossing off anything I can't control and then focusing on the things that I can control. Because again, just the way human beings work, most of the stuff that's negatively affecting you, you can't control, right? For example, if you're worried about the cost of living, I mean, you can't really do anything about that unless you happen to be the Prime Minister or the person that works at the Bank of England, right? You're not going to be able to do much about it. Maybe you can earn more money, sure, but there's not much you can directly do to impact that. If someone is ill, again, you can't control that. So then you can kind of cross it off and then it makes you feel a bit better about the whole situation. Not, again, it doesn't remove the problem, but it at least manages the stress when you realize, hey, look, I'm doing all that I can. The next one is very similar to confidence and they do kind of link together. And it's something called academic buoyancy. Now, again, if you think about what buoyancy is, it's when you push something down in water and it bounces back up. Again, if something pushes you down, i.e. a negative test result or you get stuck on a problem or whatever, you should be able to bounce back up to this equilibrium where you don't get disheartened after receiving disappointing results. And again, I know I link this to exams quite a lot, but even if you're learning a language, it can feel like you're not making any progress when you still can't understand what someone's saying. Or if you're learning an instrument, if you still can't play this song that you've been working on for ages, it is disheartening. And again, it could be for literally anything you're doing in life. But again, you need to bounce back. This also has to do with taking feedback. One of the best qualities of people in general, and this will save you so many times throughout your life, is the ability to take negative feedback. Now, again, this is very delicate. You shouldn't necessarily take everything at face value. Some people are extremely negative and nitpicky, in which case that just negatively impacts your self-confidence. But other people, when they give you critical feedback, it's an opportunity to learn. So you need to weigh that up in your head. Are they just being really unreasonable? Or is this, you know what, fair enough, I see their point, I could do this better, let's work on it. And look at it as a positive. After you get that feedback, you are going to be better the next time. Even if it's a small improvement, it's still an improvement, which means you've got progress. And I saved the best for last, growth mindset. Now, I know that this can be a bit cringy when you see those people on Instagram or TikTok talking about growth mindset, yada yada, Sigma grind set, whatever. But this is probably one of the most important pieces of research that's been done recently. And that's that intelligence is not fixed. Again, I'm going to link this in the description. I encourage you all to read it. But it is now known, it's fact, that the intelligence you're born with, so your IQ, so to speak, is not fixed at all. You can literally get smarter over time. Your brain works similar to your muscles. So if I want to get stronger, I go to the gym, start lifting weights. And I do that regularly over months. And eventually I will be stronger. Same thing happens with your intelligence. If you can't do something now and you keep working at it, you will eventually be able to do it. Again, assuming you follow the other pieces of advice in this video, in the sense of actually do effort that is going to improve you. Again, if I go to the gym and I'm doing something that's very, very easy, I'm not going to get stronger. Whereas if I'm doing something that's very difficult, I will get stronger. But again, you don't want to make it so difficult that you keep failing and that negatively affects your self-esteem. So again, intelligence is not fixed. And if you actually believe this in your mind, it will force you to have a really positive attitude to life. The genuine belief that you can do anything that you set your mind to with enough practice is something that will, I promise you, will open up so many doors. So again, let's say you've never played an instrument in your life and you want to start learning piano for whatever reason. The actual belief that you can learn piano if you have enough time, that's a really important thing. But there are people that say, and I hear it all the time, oh, I'm not a sciencey person, I'm not a maths person, I'm not a creative person, I can't draw, yada, yada, yada. And I was like this before. But changing that, I now have learned to play instruments. I also am learning languages and things like that. Things that I didn't think I could do before. But again, it is scientifically proven that intelligence is not fixed. You can get good at literally anything that you set your mind to. So on the screen, I've put up a little kind of summary of everything that we've spoken about so far. I really hope that you found this useful and interesting, and I do genuinely hope that you apply this to all facets of your life, so that way you can become whatever you want to become and you can achieve success. Whether you're in GCSEs, A-levels, university, or you're in your careers, this is an extremely important and valuable model to follow for your entire life so you can continue to improve and get to the ideal life that you want to get to in the future. But as always, I'm going to leave you to it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.